Welcome to Cut Ups, episode 6. We're going to call this one 6.1, looking at the first half of Michigan versus Penn State. I am Trevor McCue, staff writer with the Maize and Blue Review, joined as always by Mr. Cut Ups himself, Stephen Osentoski. How you doing, brother?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Great win, great weekend. Happy to be talking about a dominating win. It's always more fun when you have more positive plays than negative plays.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the first half we're going to be looking at was dominating in the stats sheet, but maybe not on the scoreboard. So before we dive into your cut-ups here, any quick takeaways from you in terms of that disparity? Obviously, Penn State had two huge plays that swung the whole thing, but overall, any takeaways you've got from that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to pull it up right now just to kind of spoil a little bit of the show here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But I don't remember ever seeing a disparity like this, a 6-0. And I remember I was at the game, and I remember being like, I've never seen a more dominant first quarter. And then subsequently, after a couple key plays that we'll look at here, I don't remember seeing that level of disparity between time of possession, yardage, first downs, and still have the points opposite in the final score here. Obviously, it's not final score, but it was mind blowing, man. Really weird, and something that you don't see too often. So I think even with this, I think of the 18, 19 plays, about way more than half, about 12 of them are positive. And I was pretty confident throughout the first half that the game would turn around in Michigan's favor on the scoreboard as well as the stat sheet. But just weird, man. Sometimes football can be weird like that.
Yeah, the only one off the top of my head, I remember, not off the top of my head, but I remember, I think it was Northwestern last year, right? Or when Evan Hull had that really long touchdown run, and that was like their only big play, and we had seen Michigan dominate Northwestern, and the score wasn't necessarily there, but even that doesn't come close to, 3 minutes of time of possession for 9 yards in the first quarter, just utter domination. So Before we get started, last thing I want to call out, if you are watching live with us, we do have the comment section pulled up. I know we've got some regulars in here, so feel free to have conversation amongst yourself. Feel free to provide us feedback. We try to respond to as much as we can and put it into the show. Again, this is supposed to be interactive with all of you, so please feel free to add some comments, keep interacting with us. And if you aren't watching us live and you're watching the feedback right now, make sure you hit subscribe so you get that notification when we do go live so you can contribute the next time. That said, Toski, Michigan, Penn State, let's get into it.
Let's do it. All right, first play here, 13:40 in the first quarter. Pin and pull here with your center and guard. And, I mean, this was right away where I was like, uh-oh, if this continues to happen, Penn State's in trouble, right? Because you see this blocked by just about everybody that needs to get their block, and they're getting their blocks easily. Looking at the pullers first, these guys are the ones who really make this play. Here is your kickout block from your guard, your center, Oluwatimi. They love getting him in this scenario of putting him in space, letting him go work. He does a great job here getting to that second level. If we move it forward here just a little bit, you can see both those pullers, right, do a really good job getting to their blocks. And look at this lane for Blake Corum. Really tough block here from Carson Barnhart. If we back it up a little bit, he has to release from that right guard position and take on that defensive tackle down the field here. He continues working, loses leverage a little bit, but with the speed of Blake Corum, he does just enough, right? That guy's 97's out of the play. As long as you can get that defensive tackle engaged for that long, by the time that he is finally releasing, Blake Corum has plenty of an avenue to run without that making an impact. All the other blocks, I think the other ones that you could point out, Schoonmaker does a good job play side, straight up on the defensive end. Not the best block, right? He gets rocked back a little bit, but he keeps inside leverage, right? So he gets rocked back a little bit, but he doesn't allow that guy outside of him. If you're going to work inside here, Schoonmaker knows where this play is going. Go ahead, work your way upfield. You're taking yourself out of the play. So, not a whole lot of blocks on the backside that you need here. All you need is Hayes. Just don't let this guy inside. So he gets upfield. That's totally fine. Then you have a cut block here, right? Because you have two pullers coming out here. It's all about closing this gap. If you're Ryan Hayes, your left tackle, just close this gap. He's going to dive, do a little cut block. Don't let this guy through unimpeded so that you give enough time for your running back out of the backfield. So all levels here, all levels here. Get out to the blocks where they need to, and that's a really easy way to get a first down, right? That's 12 yards, and Blake Corum's only getting touched at the 12-yard pickup there, right at the out-of-bounds marker. So this is a good way to start your run game, right? When everyone's getting to their blocks, everyone's staying engaged, identifying blocks well. That's a great sign for the run game overall.
So far this year, I've identified pretty consistently Zinter and Olu as the top two offensive linemen so far this year. And this is a big reason why Zinter's game's taken a big step on these pin and pulls. And this is exactly why Olu transferred here, right? He's said that many times. And I mean, look at this engage, perfect turn, man.
Yeah, look at that turn. The turn of the hips there.
That is incredibly athletic for a 300-pound man.
100%. That's why he was a Remington Trophy finalist last year. If he's not at the top, towards the top of that list again this year, I'd be shocked. And Michigan loves putting him in those positions, and you can see why he shines there.
Absolutely.
All right. Real quick, Evan Lundberg asks if we are getting to cover Moody's tackle. That is in the second half. So we're doing 2 episodes this week. Definitely tune into that one. I believe that was the first kickoff in the second half there. So I'll add that just for you, Evan. Keep me honest if I don't. All right, I love this play. Okay, so this was same drive, first drive for Michigan, 3rd and 4 here in the red zone. What I love about this is it doesn't work out, right? It doesn't work out, but they're kind of this isn't a fast motion out of Donovan Edwards, right? They ran this a couple times this game where it almost looks like he's coming back into the backfield. They've done this a lot. They started running back out wide, motion him back, put him in the backfield, and run some sort of traditional look out of there. So
Toski, real quick, why do they do that? Is that just for a tell in the defensive formation, or?
Yeah, I think it's partially to get a sense of who they're going to fly out there, right? Are they going to be putting a linebacker out there and try to pull him back in? I think it's more to see the defensive tendencies when you have a running back out there. When you do a motion like this, sometimes you can see whether they are in man or if they're in zone, what kind of shifts they're doing. So I'm sure there's a lot more reading of the defense you can do from this motion, but it also just gives you opportunity to catch them off guard in something like this, right? This isn't like a fast motion where Donovan Edwards is sprinting back really quickly. It looks like he's about to head back into the backfield. So this is an opportunity for, as he's going in motion, right? You may have the eyes of these guys looking at each other, pointing, not really ready to go at the time of the snap. Then all of a sudden you're going to have Donovan Edwards stop, boom, the snap is there. And then if the defense is not ready for shifting any of their coverage, any of their shifts in responsibilities, you can catch them off guard with that. So I think it's a number of different reasons that you can do that. In this instance, obviously you're hoping to catch them off guard. This throw is just a little too high, right? If that throw is on target, what do you have on the outside, right? You get one block here, one block here. Hopefully your tight end Schoonmaker can get up to the outermost defender, number 8, it seems, out here as well. So you got four guys out there, 3 blockers on 3 defenders, right? So seemingly right here, if this is where it would be about to be caught, right, you got what you want here if you're Michigan. And lead blocker here against the defensive back, you like that matchup, a little bit of patience, right? Your best chances of getting to the ball is either 44, linebacker, or the safety, right? The very least, you're looking at a first down. Shocked if it doesn't get inside the 5.
Just say it. That would have been a touchdown. Just say it.
Seems like it, man. Seems like it.
Yeah.
So it's a bummer, right? A lot of these, there were a couple this game where I think J.J. McCarthy missed a couple easy screen passes. I remember another one to Roman Wilson was a little bit off target. So that's pretty rare, right? Not something that we really expect out of J.J. McCarthy, something I expect him to get cleaned up, but a cool little play design. And I think it's cool to continue to use motion in these fun ways. I feel like it's something I've seen Ohio State do in the past as well. So just missed execution, right? And I feel like, this does lead to a field goal. It's nothing that Penn State was really doing to force these field goals. Michigan got what they wanted out of this look. Just got to execute a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was so before the stats started piling up, this was just this is why you don't kick field goals, right? Mm-hmm. Because, no matter how much you dominate, if it's only 3-0 or 6-0, a quick score from Penn State, and it makes your domination irrelevant. So, yeah, so uncharacteristic of JJ to miss a pass like that behind the line of scrimmage. I don't know if he just got super excited and gunned it or what, but he realized, I mean, he's making that move instantly.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. Kind of a meh, like just move on, get your points. Unfortunate, but let's move on to the defense here. First possession for Penn State, 3rd and 1 here. They've not picked up a first down at this point. And this is a big lesson in what a really, really good interior defensive line, specifically your nose tackle, can do for you. Okay, so we're going to start at the nose tackle here with Mazi Smith and see the impact that he has on this play. So he is going to get into this gap and not allow this center to reach to this linebacker. Okay, so let's move forward and just watch how Mazi Smith fires off here. He occupies both 64 and 70, right? 64 wants to take on that block on your nose tackle there, allow 70 to get to that linebacker cleanly. But Mazi Smith is standing that up, right? Not giving a lot of ground there. He's occupying 2 bodies. So what does that do? That gives enough freedom here for your linebacker here to be shooting this A gap, right? This A gap that is forcing 77 now your right guard. He has the feeling now that he needs to address this, right? He senses this pressure coming. He's going to have to shift off, right? So 70 not able to free release. This right guard has to address this linebacker now shooting this gap, right? This is the play side. 77 is going to come off of his block and try to address that, okay? So what that does, 77 disengages here. That now leads 3 players to the outside here with only 2 blockers, right? 77 addressing that linebacker. That leaves 79 all alone here. 79, that right tackle, is all alone on your 3 tech here. I believe this is Chris Jenkins. Yep. He's all alone right here, right? And he's doing a good job working inside here because 77 has to work back this way. There's now a gap forming here. Running back's going to see that, right? And he's going to have to bounce because on the backside, you don't have much else with Jalen Harrell winning his block on the backside. You got backside linebacker coming here, winning inside here. So all of this is flowing this way for the defense. This is really the only option if you're the Penn State running back here. So because of that gap formed, right? Look at where Chris Jenkins is. He fought inside. 77 is now like, oh crap, I need to readdress this blocker now. And Chris Jenkins has this. 10 has to bounce the outside. And then the rest of this is just good edge discipline, gap integrity from Michigan's defense. Jalen Harrell, actually, I'm not sure if that's Jalen Harrell. I think this is Mike Barrett actually coming up here, and then Mike Morris on the outside. They both have responsibility for the outside shoulder. So outside shoulder there, Mike Barrett on the outside shoulder of 79, and then outside shoulder for Mike Morris on 44, right? Boom, disengage, and Mike Morris is there to pick up the tackle. Right, so this is all only possible because of Mazi Smith in the interior, right? So that's where you may not see.
I think that's Jamon Green.
I think you're right. Jamon Green came down there. Yeah, he's playing like a
that's crazy
weird outside linebacker position there. It's a good job from him, right? Recognizing that that gap discipline, taking on that gap really well. So this all stems from your nose tackle. Right? If you just go down the line, what he does here and forcing 77 to get across here, that creates a ripple effect. And eventually you'll have 2 blockers who do a good job with their discipline, able to appropriately make this play. So starts with Mazi Smith, and then it ends with everyone else winning on their blocks. Great job from Chris Jenkins forcing that bounce. And then Mike Morris disengaging with 44 there. And makes a good, solid, sound tackle for the tackle for loss, right? 3rd and 1s are hard. That's hard to do. So having everyone there from Mazi Smith all the way down the line of scrimmage there, that makes this play possible. So that's truly a team effort in creating that tackle for loss, even though it's just Mike Morris on the stat sheet there. Everyone played a hand in there.
That's one of my favorite breakdowns you've done, I think, because I'm guilty of it as a numbers guy, analytics guy. You know, I do those stock report every week, and it's become evident to me that the value, the work of Mazi Smith, Chris Jenkins, and Mason Graham just doesn't come through. And I'd argue those are the 3 unsung heroes of this defense, because Mazi's not going to get credit for anything on that play in terms of stat sheet. Same thing with Jenkins, but that play doesn't happen without them. So I think you illustrated that perfectly, how awesome that interior is for the Michigan defense and what it does to help out the edge defenders, the linebackers, and in this play, one of our corners lining up in the box.
Yeah. And to have all those guys keep their gap integrity there, right?
Yep.
He may not seem like he's doing a whole lot here, but he's occupying space, right?
Yep.
He is in the mind of this lineman who has to make a choice to either address this or address this, right? And that gives enough room for Chris Jenkins to make a play and bounce this. So it's all about just doing your job. You don't have to be the one to make the tackle, but force the defense or force the offense to account for you, right? And that allows your other players who are in the position when that running back does finally commit to make that tackle, and that's what happens. So it's a really great view of how everyone comes together to create a great negative play like that for the offense.
What a tone setter, right? Just like you said, third one's a hard stop. And, Penn State came into this game thinking with their two freshman backs, they're going to be running the ball. And Michigan stuffed them early, and Penn State gave up on it early. So, yeah, tone setter for the rest of the game. Awesome play.
Second drive here for Michigan out of pistol. Breaking tendencies, right? Holy cow. We're passing out of pistol. And this is probably – I think a lot of people may be pointing to the pass to Dalen Baldwin last year, and J.J. McCarthy scrambled and threw it like 60 yards through the air, right? And been like, this guy is a next-level talent. This is a rope on a little play-action waggle, right? He's going to the right. And what I love about his mechanics here, he really starts to drive towards the line of scrimmage there. Just that last little bit here where he does a really good job running towards the line of scrimmage. And as soon as he notices that this defender right here is starting to follow Schoonmaker, right? Schoonmaker's breaking out here. This guy has to make a decision either to chase the quarterback or follow the tight end. As soon as you realize that he has the space here to step up, he reroutes and really drives towards the line of scrimmage. And what that helps, that puts some power into his throw here. He can really step into that with that right foot here and really put all of his arm behind it, because this play is a lot about timing, right? There's only so much room towards the sideline on this late developing route here from Cornelius Johnson. You need to get that there. And he's got plenty of room, but it's just placed in such a perfect spot. If you don't have that velocity on that ball, right, you're kind of giving enough time for that defensive back to close that gap. If you force your wide receiver to just kind of sit and wait here, that might create enough time for this to be a contested ball from the defensive back. So, that's an NFL level throw to hit that on the run in time. It's a lot of power behind that throw. But back to the initial play design, again, we're just breaking tendencies here, right? And the main thing to look at, watch these linebackers' reaction here, right? And really everyone's reaction here to the play action. So as soon as you see it's pistol, right? What were we saying last week? Pistol, you run the ball. And look at where the linebackers are at the line of scrimmage, right? These were your linebackers. They are all here at the line of scrimmage. Now you have quite a bit of room for a lot of your routes that are developing on this play, right? A little bit later release out of Schoonmaker here, but this linebacker is the one who's responsible for him. He would have been open because of how much upfield this guy got before redirecting out to the flat. Because of how much room is here, this safety is the only one who can come down and actually cover this sort of drive route across the middle. And then the main route that wins that I want to take a look at a little bit closer here is Cornelius Johnson. We don't get a great view at the entire route, but watch how he wins this route. I'll back it up so we can kind of see him initially. He's going to get a great release here, work to the inside there with that little deke. And then what he's going to do, it's a little subtle and it's a little tough to see because he'll lose that, but he's going to work vertical right in front of the defensive back. Number 3 has lost this, right? He's completely lost this. And what working just in front of him does is, because you have this safety who has to come down on this drive route from your tight end here, see the eyes are still over here because he notices that with the safety coming down, you're likely going to have something here. So because of this alignment with the defensive back, he won this inside release. There's no safety over the top. This guy is really terrified of all the open space out here, right? There's a ton of open field here where if Cornelius Johnson is breaking this way, you're kind of lost and you've already lost the route. So that's why I think Cornelius Johnson will put on a little deke to the inside. That defensive back will really bite, and look at all that separation that created, right? Because of all that lack of over-the-top help, probably a little head fake here out of Cornelius Johnson this way before cutting this off here is going to get this defensive back to really react and have to round this off and create a bunch of the separation that we saw. So again, this is breaking tendency. It's getting those linebackers to react in this formation, right? You have that extra fullback with Schoonmaker coming out of the backfield here. You have options, right? A lot of this is looking really, really good if you're Michigan. And you're likely to pick up a really big gain regardless of where you're going. Most people are open here. And it's good patience, good mechanics from J.J. McCarthy, and an excellent ball to pick up the maximum amount of yards on this play.
Yeah, this is the difference with J.J. McCarthy, right? Having the athletic ability and speed to get outside, and then the confidence, not that there would have been anything wrong with any of these other three options, right? But to have the confidence to take that deeper shot, that's the next level of this offense with J.J. McCarthy. And yeah, that is an absolute rope. I don't remember at what point of the game I said something about not seeing any deep shots yet. I forgot this was a plus 20-yard throw because it's just an absolute laser. It's 40 air yards.
Yeah.
And yeah, just it didn't come up in my mind as a deep shot because it's just it's unbelievable. Kid's got crazy arm talent, man. And Cornelius, for his inconsistencies and some of his drops and stuff, that dude gun into the sideline. That's where he thrives, man. We've seen a lot of these plays from him, but that's a great view right there.
Yep, great catch. Good with the feet. That's good in the NFL. So yeah, really good play overall. Really like that. All right, looking at 3rd and 3 here. This is all about just getting your running back in matchup against the linebacker, right? That's all this is. You're bringing the motion with A.J. Henning, getting the eye candy moving here, and all you really want out of this is get this linebacker just to stutter a little bit. Just force him to wait up and say, do I need to react to this sort of motion? As soon as you get that, you're going to win with Blake Corum out of the backfield here. That's the number one read here. Again, it's 3rd and 3. And look at the eyes for the linebacker, right? You already have Blake Corum. Look at his hips. Blake Corum's already going out here, and look at the hips of the linebacker. Okay, when you're doing hips to hips here and comparing that, it's a weird term. I made it up, but the hips here are pointed this way. When Blake Corum's hips are going this way, not only does he already have an athletic advantage over the linebacker, but he has the momentum advantage here as well. So with that, right, now we see just how much of an advantage there is for Blake Corum. Only now do we see this linebacker reacting. His eyes have now shifted over to Blake Corum. He's now turning those hips and running, but look at the difference in the yards, right? He's just inside the hash. You're about a yard outside the hash if you're Blake Corum, right? So add that momentum advantage plus the athletic advantage, and that's exactly what Michigan's looking for. That's the read 100% of the time on this, and I like how Michigan is consistently using motion to take advantage of that and just hold up the linebacker just a little bit. You don't need a lot. Just a little bit of hesitancy, and that's all you need. It doesn't need to be that fancy. Make it an easy throw, and this picks up, 9 yards on 3rd down. That's perfect. So nothing fancy there. Just creating those one-on-one matchups, attacking a one-on-one battle that you think you can win athletically. Michigan thinks that they can, and I think against 90% of teams, probably more, Blake Corum is going to be the right guy to win that battle.
I think the last play and this one are going to illustrate that we're dangerously close to Harbaugh's dream offense here. A dominant run game and establishing that, having the play action pass, a quarterback who has the athletic ability to run out like that and also be a threat in the run game, right? So they're biting, who's smart and efficient on the easy throws, but can also make the tough ones. So on this one, on 3rd and 3, you're absolutely right. Dunk to Corum, it's perfect. On the last one, we saw him take the deeper shot to Cornelius, right? And you can see on this play, Ronnie Bell and Andrell Anthony in a different situation on a different day in a different game. Those guys are going to be potentially open deep, right? So this is it, man. Michigan's finding their identity here, and I think this is it right here, man. This is going to be the offense. Michigan's always going to run the ball, but this is JJ right here. I mean, 3 levels of options and trusting the guy to make the right choice.
Yeah, and I think you're right, because it's interesting with the motion here. What this does also, not only does this motion hold up this linebacker, it's also creating a little bit of motion out of the defense in reaction to that. So because you're going here, this safety is dropping off. He's your new highest safety. This guy is coming down here. This guy has to kind of not only get into the right area, but also trust his eyes. You're just making his job a little bit easier. Instead of this guy having just this responsibility, using his eyes, this guy needs to, he's watching the motion, right? He's getting back into this area, and then he has to react to anything that's coming over here. I think you're right. This first read, you see the eyes for J.J. McCarthy immediately going over there. If they run this again, right, and leak out a running back here, this is your only high safety, right? Look at the inside release here for Ronnie Bell on sort of this post route. I think you're right. He would have been open here, right? But again, what's the purpose of this play? It's 3rd and 3, right? If you run this on 2nd and 5, Ronnie Bell's probably your could be an option that you're looking at. So I think you're 100% right, and this is what Michigan wants to have. And when you can be successful on multiple levels, not just picking up a 3rd and 3, but in a different scenario, right? That option to Ronnie Bell down the field will also be there. It's a really good spot to be when you can accomplish what you want and then be like, oh man, these plays could be even better in different scenarios. So I think you're right. Having that misdirection, having the athletes in space, I think this is exactly what Michigan is looking for, and could be one of their most dynamic offenses. Okay, now let's get back to earth a little bit here after hyping them up a little bit, right? We're in 2nd and goal here. And this is one of the rare moments that Blake Corum misses a gap here. So this is a down G concept. And what do I mean by down G?
I've been so busy being upset about bringing in El Hadi and moving Keegan over. I didn't realize Corum made a mistake here. Okay.
He did. So you got down G. So down block here. You're pulling 58 here on the edgemost defender working upfield. And this is where the gap is going to be. Now, Bredesen does work to the outside here. But that block here from 58 there, El Hadi, right? That's who that is?
Yep.
El Hadi here. He picks that up appropriately. That guy is in his face. That's down G. He picks him up. I think Bredesen probably takes the wrong assignment here.
No way.
But this seems like Michigan has what they wanted there, especially with a great down block there from 77, Trevor Keegan. He's going to wash this guy down. If Corum is just a little bit more patient here, and instead of following your fullback here, and he very well is coached to follow the fullback in this scenario, but there's a hole that starts, there's a crease that forms right here, right? Is it a touchdown if he follows this? Maybe not, because you do have these two guys here. And give a lot of credit to this edge defender here. He works upfield, makes this huge play for a big tackle for loss, makes it 3rd and 5 instead of 3rd and 2, 3rd and goal from the 2. But Corum bounces that instead of taking the gap right in front of him, right? So this is something where maybe on film, I think it's something where he'll probably take that and say, yeah, you know what, this edge defender, when he's barreling upfield like that, what are the odds of this being successful if I bounce here, right? Even if we say that Bredesen does pick this up and you get a bounce out here, right? These guys are still going to be flying out here, and it's going to take a little bit of time on this bounce to get there. Will he be able to outspeed them, make them miss, make something happen in space? If it's one guy, I might give that to you. If it's two, probably not, right? You probably would like to see a running back get here, try to barrel over him. At the very least, you'll get back to the line of scrimmage, I would think. So this is one of the rare times that I'll say that I think he missed the gap here. But again, give a lot of credit to that defensive end. He made a really good play off the edge there. It's a tough block for El Hadi, so I'm not going to – I think he does as decent of a job as he can with that guy firing upfield. I think you just got to read that a little bit better.
I feel bad. Yeah, I didn't – that's a great call out. I don't like the cuteness of it, right? Like just pound it in, like doing the – moving your guard out to being the 6th lineman or whatever. But yeah, you're right. Because honestly, in a phone booth with a cut and 2 yards to go, we've seen Corum drive through a couple defenders. Like I would bet on him to have a chance of getting in the end zone. through that lane there. I mean, I know he's got two guys, and if he doesn't, fine, but I wouldn't be shocked if he got in either. That we've seen the dude make the plays before. So
yeah, I'm really guessing this is something where they probably saw a tendency of this edgemost defender really screaming upfield, and they felt like they could get him, right? All you need to do if you're El Hadi is just wash him out, and all you need your running back is to get here. So I think probably maybe that's what they were looking at, and they liked that potential of this crease forming for Corum. But yeah, no one's perfect, right? And it's unfortunate because it creates 3rd and 5. You're a lot less happy with, or I think you're a lot less confident with your ability to pick that up than you are from the 2-yard line.
And then they end up with, I was gonna say you do have it. Okay.
All right. And then I like this play a lot. It just happens to be, again, a better play for Penn State than I think Michigan had here. So it's a nice little shovel pass concept here. And number 11 makes a heck of a play following Blake Corum immediately, right? So
he bounced out pretty good.
Yeah, so in terms of his reaction, right, does a really good job initially committing here, keeping his eyes in the backfield, and then just following to the outside here. So this is just, I think it's a clever little play design here. You just got to give credit for, this is just straight up man coverage, and number 11 follows it, right? So give him credit. If he barrels into the line at all right here and gets caught up, all he needs to do is just get caught up a little bit. But he doesn't. He sees it right away, redirects, is only about a yard behind Blake Corum. He's shadowing there, keeps his eyes in the right place, and attacks appropriately. So, again, this is one of those plays where I don't necessarily dislike the call. I think it's creative, and you like that matchup. This is just a good job from number 11, who's also showing blitz here, right? So when you're showing all of these guys, it looks like they're going to bring it, right? So for this guy to not be bringing it and then to also follow on this little leak here from Blake Corum, it's just good play. So I'm got to give kudos to guys who make plays like that.
See, I initially didn't like it, but that's because it didn't work out, right? If he would have scored, I would have loved the play.
Sometimes guys make plays.
Yeah, calling 11. I don't think I realized he looked like he was crashing in, and if had he, then you get another one-on-one matchup for Corum, where again you're gonna put your chips on Corum in that situation. But yeah, great read from him to bounce out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, here we got 2nd and 8 here. This is Penn State's second drive here, right? Michigan picked up a field goal, up 6-0. So this is the second possession here for Penn State, which is not what you want. And this is all about just Mozzie Smith and Jalen Harrell having other plans here. So both Mozzie Smith and Jalen Harrell just absolutely destroy this play. It's a fun little concept here, a little fake screen, power QB keeper. They're pulling the left guard here, and it's almost like a little fake, and then you're going to want to follow your block there for Sean Clifford. Or I'm sorry, I pointed at the wrong guy pulling. So you're pulling that right guard here. So it's a little fake screen this way, and then quarterback keeper here. But both Mozzie Smith and Jalen Harrell just completely demolish all of their blocks here. So Jalen Harrell, we'll focus on him first because he does make the play here. It's a one-on-one block with the right tackle, right? So when I say Jalen Harrell, I'm talking stand-up guy right here. He's going to just really, I don't even know what you even call this move. It's just kind of like a little shuffle, disengage, a little pass by, and really not a great effort from the right tackle. But Jalen Harrell does a good job, right? There's a little bit of a gap that forms there because of the right guard that's pulling. And it's a good job staying home for Jalen Harrell and then making a play, right? Gets his hat across the hip there, a little bit of Sean Clifford, and putting that away. I'm a little confused, or I was a little confused by Sean Clifford running that way, right? Traditionally, if you see a guy pulling, that's generally where the play is supposed to go, right? So you got kind of a combo block here. You expect one of these guys to get to the second level. That's kind of what's happening play side, right? So had a combo block on Mozzie Smith, trying to reach this linebacker, have a guy pulling through, right, because of the reaction out here to the screen. You should be able to have all of these guys blocked, right, up front. for your quarterback to follow this, right? And then your safeties would be the only guys that would be able to really appropriately respond to this before the first down marker. The issue is Mazi Smith is taking on everybody, right? Mazi Smith fights off the double initially, right? We're talking right here. So he's fighting off the double initially, works through that, holds up, and then just kind of olays to the outside of your left tackle there, works the outside there. The puller, 77, now has to address that, right? 77 can no longer work upfield. He should be working up to this linebacker. But because you lost contact here with your other offensive lineman, the puller now meets Mazi Smith where the hole is supposed to go. And Mazi Smith also beats that to the inside, right? So if Sean Clifford had made the unwise decision to head in Mazi Smith's direction, he's beating three guys there to be waiting for him. So he decides to cut that backside. And even if Jalen Harrell, right, isn't there because of the way that Sean Clifford went, because he went this way, Jalen Harrell wins, but that's also a really tough angle for your left guard who's releasing to the second level to get to this block, right? So you'd have Mike Barrett there as well because 64 is not setting up his hips to block for this sort of reaction out of that linebacker. So again, this is another scenario where Mazi Smith making a big impact, not picking up the stats, but also a guy like Jalen Harrell making a play. And just when you're winning in the trenches like that, it's hard not to make your teammates look good.
Yeah, Mozzie's just a beast, man. So good.
Yeah,
that's a hutch move from Harrell, man.
You're right.
The hand shimmy and then the sweep over. Yeah, so he's been really. I mean, he's getting. I don't want to say lost in the shuffle, but all the attention on Morris and Oki. He's still just a playmaker out there for them.
Yeah, it's great. I think I expected them this year to be a little bit better in the pass rush. I think Oki has kind of established that.
Yep.
But in the run game, especially, I mean, that's great to have a guy who can do that. There's just so many guys on this defensive line that can do make plays like that, and it's a luxury.
Yep.
All right, moving on here. So that set up, that was on second down. Now we're at the final play of first down. I believe this was after a penalty here. But now after that loss, you're set up at 3rd and 4 here for Penn State, and Michigan just dials up a great blitz here. And it's really that simple. Let's shift to the other view here. There is simply no time for Sean Clifford to do anything. So I'll play through it one more time here. Just the blitz. You got both Mike Barrett and Makari Page on the blitz here. So the main issue here, if you're Penn State, is they're expecting Yabi Oki to be coming off the edge here, right? Number 18. So that's why they have set up 79 for him. They have 77 right here. Boom, right? And then you're probably expecting Junior Colson to drop or something else. So you're looking at these blocks as well, right? Because you're bringing down the linebacker. And then you also have a running back who's probably going to be setting up this way, right? Because if we're looking at pure numbers, right, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4 for Michigan and only 1, 2, 3, you'll need that running back to shift over here, right? You kind of see by the helmet here for the running back, he is setting up that way, right? So that's initially where the running back is going. He's going to be picking up this linebacker, right? And it's just clever disguise here from Michigan to be dropping Yabi Oki because of this linebacker taking out the running back from your pass protection. And because they're expecting Yabi Oki to be coming off the edge here, but because he isn't, this right tackle is going to be blocking air initially, right? So let's move the tape forward a little bit. Your running back's gone. 79 is not blocking anybody, right? Yabi Oki is gone now. He's getting out to the flat here. 79 will try to shift over and pick up Chris Jenkins, but 77 is also set up to block this, right? And what does that do? Because your running back is here in charge of this linebacker, that's going to leave a wide open lane for Makari Page. So it's just clever designing, right? Being able to have a guy like Yabi Oki who you can confidently drop into zone coverage like that, and also a plus pass rusher, that strikes the fear into the offensive line of not knowing whether he'll be coming or not. It makes it really difficult to understand where the pressure is coming from. So just by threatening him by having him out on the field, saying him out, right? What you end up with? You end up with 2 offensive linemen on Chris Jenkins. That creates the opportunity for Makari Page because running back has one other guy to pick up here. So that's it. And there's nothing here. We're looking at the eyes here of Sean Clifford. He can't throw anything here. There's no option to throw that ball. He just has to throw it to a space there. And unlike Basilek's throw, that moonshot that he completed last week, this one does not work out in Penn State's favor.
Just like the offense breaking tendencies and maybe finding some identity, the defense did the same thing this week with weird things like this, dropping Oki in coverage, sending Page after he lined up in the box. We saw Jamon Green blitzing from an almost linebacker position earlier in these cutups. So, I was doing my defensive stock report, hoping to post that tomorrow, and I'm looking at some of these alignments and who was in coverage and who wasn't, and it was surprising. I mean, they got creative here. We're seeing them thrive on versatility and breaking their own tendencies here. I was worried about Michigan's linebackers maybe getting picked on in this one. 2 targets against Colson and Barrett all day. And it's plays like this, whatever, Clifford or Penn State was like, granted, I was confused by their game plan all game anyway, but whatever he's hoping to target here, like you said, he's got no chance. So it doesn't even matter. So, Page has really stepped up. He's arguably been the best safety this year. And having Oki, a guy that wasn't even on the team until 2 weeks into camp, and now they're making plays like that, man. Michigan's defense, we still got a little bit to go, but it's on track to be better than last year, man. I know some people were worried, but they are doing awesome in plays like this.
Through 7 games, right? Michigan had 15 sacks in 2021. They're at 24 sacks through 7 games here. That's impressive. That's an impressive stat. Even though it's, distributed all across a wider range, almost comes to advantage there of having any number of guys that can get to the quarterback. You're not just looking at a Hutchinson or Ojabo that can get there. Anybody can get home here. And it's a little scarier for offenses to predict against that. So this is where we're at, end of the first quarter here, right? 9 total yards. 0 for 2 on third downs, 3 minutes of possession for Penn State, right? So we're getting back to Michigan here in the second quarter, 3rd and 4, up 6-0 here. And this is, again, breaking sort of a tendency that I really like for kind of what routes that we generally see in this scenario. So they're sending Bell on a little bit of a motion here. And I feel like on third downs especially, we've seen this route out of Ronnie Bell time and time again, right? He's your bell cow. He's the guy that you're consistently going to see on that, especially with the motion. You think it kind of gets him an advantage there with this sort of seam route from your tight end, right? This drive route with this motion here will get this running back possibly running into this tight end. So that's probably what they're expecting and what Penn State is really going for here, right? Number 4 is in good position to cover that sort of drive route action, right? It's all about when are you breaking those tendencies, right? And look at that separation. Probably could have been called holding. Maybe, it depends on how liberal you want to get with your holding rules or not. I think another angle of this shows it even a little bit more exaggerated there, the little bit of pull there on the back of the jersey. But this is just all about what is the defense expecting out of this, right? And what's Michigan shown in this sort of scenario? So because Michigan has shown that time and time again, take advantage of that. And that the ability to stop on a dime there if you're Ronnie Bell, boom, and use that momentum against number 4.
What's 11 looking for there when he's peeking back? Did you see that?
Number 11.
Yeah, so the linebacker, as Bell comes into him, watch, he peeks at him, then he goes with Corum. And then he realizes, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think he's initially – his job is likely to take away any initial sort of slant or anything across the middle here. I think you're right. As soon as he sees that Ronnie Bell is going back that way, then his responsibility is to pick up anything out of the backfield. I didn't notice that. You may also be communicating with number 4 here because you almost see like a little bit of a pass off there as well. Number 4 is smacking the hip there for him to follow that. But yeah, I think number 11 being there, I think shows, especially with the eyes there of McCarthy, shows that Penn State is expecting Ronnie Bell to be looking for the pass.
JJ. Right, yeah, you're right.
So I think they're expecting that. And number 11, looking back here, he might also trying to be figuring out, okay, where is this guy, right? I'm sitting here in this zone expecting someone to be crossing by and just trying to identify, all right, is he actually coming? Where's he at? And then he's adjusting. Oh, he's going to the outside. That's no longer my responsibility. Number 11 vacates towards the middle of the field where it looks like Blake Corum is escaping towards. So, yeah, I think this is, again, another example of Michigan likes to run this sort of drive concept. Penn State understanding that and Michigan choosing a good time to do that. And look at all the room he has after the catch as well, right? So this isn't something that, it's just a catch and then, you get a first down. You're catching the ball and you're picking up 10, 11 yards on the yard after the catch. And that's only possible because of how well placed this ball is, right? This ball is placed exactly where it needs to be. I don't think this view does not show it as well as this view does, but this is right where it needs to be for maximum yards after the catch, right in the breadbasket, right in line. Ronnie Bell needs to do nothing except turn up the field, and that is the maximum amount of yardage that this play could really get. So excellent execution, right? We saw a couple missed execution in the first quarter. Michigan does a little bit better job here on this play of correcting some things.
Yeah. Can you put up that question real quick on Mgo Bosky, just because something I had anticipated in this game was a big game for Luke Schoonmaker because Penn State's weakness was their linebackers. And I think Penn State probably expected that as well. You could see them double teaming Scooney in this play. So, hey, we've got 2 lockdown corners. They're going to go after our linebackers with their big tight end. No, we're going to use breaking tendencies and misdirection, and we're going to go after your NFL corners. Kalen King did not have a good day. So, yeah, I think this is just an example of good job by the coaches. Of course they were going to go after Scooney. That makes sense, right? No.
Yeah. Yep, that's good point. Okay, moving into 3rd and 2 here. So short yardage situation. This doesn't seem like a really big play, but there's a reason I wanted to look at this, especially out of the corner of my eye. I also noticed there is a beach ball there. I almost hit that beach ball on this given day. So I wanted to call that out that I was near that beach ball today on that day.
Did you see the other inflated item that made it to the field?
I was giggling like a little boy looking at that. It was really funny. Moving into this play. Okay, so 3rd and 2, obviously, good run here. Zone blocking up front. Key block here is Trevor Keegan, your left guard. He's just going to really wash down this, I believe that's number 0, trying to tunnel inside. Just gets a ton of movement, pushes him down the line. Really good cutback here from Blake Corum, recognizing that. The main reason I wanted to include this play, and we'll get the above head view in a second here, is because we get the ref cam here. And the ref cam is going to double as almost like a linebacker's view. Obviously, linebacker's view would be a little bit taller than this, but this is something of pretend you're in the eyes of 23 here. Okay. And I'm going to do this because 23 is going to see the initial action here for Blake Corum to this side, right? You got Oluwatimi coming out there. And right now, right, based off that initial motion, you see Blake Corum kind of disappear behind JJ McCarthy. Right here, if you're 23, where's your vision going to be, right? What's that initial reaction of the running back, Blake Corum? Now you're kind of covered up. You got Zinter and Oluwatimi blocking 97 here. 23 can't see anything, right? But what he does see, he sees this gap forming right here, right? So he's going to fill this gap, knowing that you got Carson Barnhart, or I'm sorry, that's Carson Barnhart picking up this block. There's going to be a little gap that's forming here, right? And that's something that 23 is probably thinking based off that initial step of Blake Corum, right? He stepped to his right there, and the way that JJ McCarthy turned, right? That's something I need to take into account. As soon as he gets there, right, you can see that cut from Blake Corum, now you're in trouble, right? Because at this point, Blake Corum is not committed, but now he has, right? And who's like, everyone's in trouble, right? You committed there because there is a gap forming. If 23 isn't there, right, Blake Corum very well could, especially with the blocks that you see here, they could get there, right? But right now, after 23 commits, there you see Blake Corum. and he's gone, right? It's actually a really good reaction from 97, much better than I would expect a defensive tackle to be able to do to work off this block. But those are just like the subtle things of try to put yourself in the head of 23 and how to react to that backfield motion. And then you have just a split second here of not being able to see what's going on in the backfield. And Blake Corum's already set you up, right? He's already reacting because he's expecting your hat to be in that hole. So it's just a really good job of, 97 does a really good job disengaging there with Oluwatimi, makes a tackle after a couple yards. But all you need is one of those blocks, and all you need is to trick one of those linebackers, and that's going to add in a block from Trevor Keegan, and that's a huge pickup, or a huge first down, I should say. Not necessarily a huge pickup, but a pickup on 3rd and 2 that you'll always take if you're the Wolverines. So, again, what do you do if you're that linebacker, right? It's a really tough.
He made the right play.
Yeah.
Arguably, right?
Yeah, he went where, you see the push, right? You see where the double is forming here. This is initially where this play is seemingly opening up, right? You can see a crease here. If he is filling the void here, right, you're going to have a crease here. Like you're going to have something here if that linebacker does not respond right here. There's going to be a crease there. So you're in a bad spot, and also just the vision, right? Having there's no real good answer there for that linebacker other than commit to that hole, and it's just Blake Corum having that vision. So I wanted to throw that in because I think it was cool. You don't really get that view that often, and I feel for that linebacker because that's not an easy job. So good vision from Corum, pick up the first down.
No, that is cool because we've talked about in some of our previous episodes when Corum does that crazy low cut where his butt's like a foot off the ground, or even just in general, we've said, like, what do? You can't see Corum. He's 5'8" and he's cutting that low. And to actually, there you go. It's perfectly illustrated.
Yep.
And that's awesome. And 97 could probably just barely see him. Oh yeah, that is Mustapher, isn't it?
Yep. Mustapher's a good player for him.
Yeah. Previous target, right? But anyway, it was kind of him and King. I'm like, but anyway, that's really cool, man. That's awesome.
This is a really good example of Michigan still leaving something to improve on, right? Even though you mauled, even though you had a great day overall, still some things to improve on. This is a really cool split zone option where you're actually pulling both Bredesen and Schoonmaker here. So, the main thing, do you think they're worried about split zone a little bit here? They're supposed to have this kind of covered by this scrape where you have this scrape exchange of the edgemost defender coming down the line of scrimmage here for this. And then you keep your outside linebacker here for any sort of run action from your quarterback. Just look at all of the bodies here selling out, committing to Donovan Edwards here. That looks like Donovan Edwards. So just look at all of those guys, right? 23, who's supposed to be allotted for the quarterback here, he's also committing down the line here. So they're all so worried about this, right, that J.J. McCarthy is able to get out here, right? 99 out of 100 times, I feel like this is – you pause right here and you got him, right? Offensive staff, anyone in the booth for Michigan, they're celebrating right now. You got two blockers, Bredesen and Schoonmaker out here.
Pulling a Lane Kiffin, showing the touchdown sign already, right?
Seriously. and you already dusted 23. You got what you wanted there. All you need to do is pick up that block, right? Pick up that block on Joel Anthony's on the outside. You had it. Tons of room here. No real chance that anybody else here backside is going to get there because they all sold out on that so hard. Safety makes a play there, right? Safety doesn't make that play. That's a touchdown. Shocked that only went for 8 yards. But again, there are things that Michigan can still improve on even with this. And kind of as you said earlier, Trevor, having a guy like J.J. McCarthy who can beat you with his legs, that makes you that much more dynamic, right? We kind of felt that Michigan was holding back a little bit in this regard, letting him loose, letting him use those legs, probably to ensure that he stayed healthy. They unleashed it a little bit, right? Yep, so with some better blocks, that's huge, right? But now even putting that on film, right, you're not going to be able to sell out this hard against the split zone look there to Donovan Edwards without getting punished, right? This is your punishment. Even if it didn't work out on this play, teams going to be scared of that, and they should be. So putting that on film, right, even though it didn't work out, it's going to pay dividends in the run game overall.
Yeah, that was having both tight ends there and not being able to execute the blocks a bummer because as we see all the time, Edwards was the player that got the fake, so nobody goes with him. So he's already looking around, getting ready to block the next guys. So, JJ could be walking into the end zone. So you're not mad about getting 8 yards on first down, but man, right play called, defense ate it up, and you're just not able to find it.
Yeah, it's a good point here from M. Goboski. If Cade was healthy, I think we would see JJ run more. I think that's probably true. I think you want to preserve some health there. I think it's also just in general with whoever your starting quarterback is. I think Michigan's confident with the quarterback room overall. I think just in general, if you don't have to run your quarterback, why run your quarterback? Right? I think that's a big point.
That's part of it too. But here's the other thing. JJ wasn't making the right reads every time when he was in there last year, right? And he's still got some learning and developing. He makes a great read and a great sell here, right? So it's also, this is his 7th start, right? Yeah. So it's also him getting better at reads and, everything else. So I'm sure that's part of it. I don't love it. I don't want you to, not call plays because you've got someone getting injured in the back of your mind. We lost Ronnie Bell for the season on a punt return. It can happen anytime, right? So, but when it's time to win a big game against a top 10 opponent in your division and you're trying to win a conference championship and you let JJ go, that makes me feel better because that means they're going to lean on JJ's strengths when the time comes. And so I think we're going to see a lot more of this as the season goes on, regardless of Cade's health.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, Michigan eventually punches this in on the goal line. Didn't want to look at a massive humanity on the goal line here.
Sorry, Jay's right. Yep, it is 6 because he did not start the first game. That's right.
Good call out, Jay. Good call out. Keep him honest.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Okay, so Michigan punched it in 13-0 midway through the second quarter here. And now we get into a couple plays where things just went wrong, right? Michigan at this point had given up 9 yards. And this is one of, I think, probably 2 or 3 offensive successful plays that you could really, really point out for Penn State here. And really Michigan had it, right? It's a combination of a couple misplays from Michigan and not the and a really good block from your left tackle. Okay, so let's look at how Michigan is looking to defend this. They're running a scrape exchange. So what that means, off of this run action here, you're committing your end, Yabi Oki. He's committing down to get to this run action. And then you're bringing Michael Barrett off the edge here for any sort of quarterback keep fake to the outside. Or if he does keep it, that's what you have. So Yabi Oki does his job, right? Yabi Oki commits to the run, goes down the line. If this is given, he's making that tackle, right? Boom. And now you have Mike Barrett getting to the outside here. If the quarterback keeps it, you'll have Mike Barrett there. The issue is it's a really tough job for the left tackle to recognize that, right? He's expecting to free release to the second level. 74, your left tackle here, does a really nice job recognizing what's happening, right? He recognizes, boom, this guy's vacating, this guy's flying up, and he reroutes. He's initially working the second level. He stops, turns, and just gets enough of Mike Barrett there. So give a lot of credit there for that left tackle of making that play, right? He doesn't get a whole lot of that block, but he gets enough of it, right? So would you like Mike Barrett to probably break down a little bit more here? I think he's in good position here. I think this is not something you would expect a left tackle to be able to really do well, and you don't expect him to reroute that heavily to turn around and make that block. I think so. So that's the main reaction there. A good play from the left tackle. It's also a really good job of your quarterback, Sean Clifford, recognizing that this block is here and faking to the outside. That gets Michael Barrett upfield just a little bit more to create this extra space. So he gets Michael Barrett to commit to the outside there, sets up his block well, and then cuts upfield. It's a really good job there from your quarterback. And then the only other thing to point out here, eyes of your safety, not great, right? He needs to stay home here. He commits too much over here where all of this is accounted for, really. So he commits too much. He doesn't peek at all over to the backside of this play to this quarterback. He doesn't react to this until it's far too late, right? So Rod Moore needs to do a better job there. Only now does he recognize and he's out of luck there. Only other thing to mention here, DJ Turner showing off that speed, right? For him to make up that ground from that position and make a tackle, great hustle, and saves a touchdown on that play. So really good job from him to make that play. But all it takes is a couple breakdowns, right? A couple breakdowns and an exceptional play, I would say, from that left tackle. And it's a huge chunk play for the Nittany Lions there.
Yeah, Turner's the fastest guy on the team, right? So
yep.
I was interested what you were going to say with Barrett there, because when Oki initially slides over, you can see them kind of communicate with each other. And I didn't know if you were going to say you thought, Barrett should have gone a little wider there instead of following right behind him, or how you felt about that whole exchange there. But
yeah, I mean, that's called, right? When you see that run action, that's why Oki flies down there. It's called for
right.
Barrett to set that edge. I do think Barrett could probably be breaking down a little bit too much, or a little bit more, right? I think right here, instead of working upfield here, trust your athleticism, right? Even if Sean Clifford is committing to the outside here, you have plenty of athleticism in this current position to make that tackle, right? There's no need to work further upfield here. Trust this, recognize that you do also want to be able to make a play if he commits upfield here. So I think he bites too hard on the fake there. And he should probably be leaning back into a little bit, sensing that tackle and fighting off that block instead of taking that big hop step and setting up that additional cut there for Clifford. But so I just got to give guys credit, right? And this is, I think, another one of those plays where you don't expect that tackle to make that play. Could have done a little bit better job, sure, but good execution from Penn State. All right, got a couple more plays here. Here we're at 4th and goal, and this is just close, like really close to stopping this from a couple players for Michigan. Again, it's really tough from 4th and half a yard, right, to make this play. I think the above the center's view here is what we really want. So I think one thing, if you're Mike Morris here, you got a similar kind of exchange here where Mike Morris is flying down the line of scrimmage here to try to take out the running back. And you have your edgemost defender here in charge of any sort of quarterback keep around the outside, right? If we just move forward and back, that's kind of what you're looking at on the backside. If you're Mike Morris, just head down the line of scrimmage a little bit more, right? You can see he bubbles out. There's probably about a yard between him and the offensive line here. If he cuts this just by a third of a yard, if he's heading more on this path, just right here, instead of bubbling out just a little bit here, that's all the difference on this play, right? He continues to work up, get vertical, continue down horizontal, hug the butts of the offensive line as much as possible to try to make that play. That's the only possible way that you make that play, is if you head all the way down the line there. So it's an admirable effort from Mike Morris on the backside there. But if you're ever doing this in the future, right, the only possible way is just work straight off the butt of 79 here. Work off the butt and just head as horizontal as possible, because he gets just a little bit too vertical there. He's not able to close on that tackle. So I think that's number one. Number two, I think Makari Page is playing this a little bit too passively. So he is watching 86, right? There could be some sort of play action boot option out of 86, right? 86 is kind of stalk blocking. I think Makari Page is worried that it's going to go out and run a route. I think you got to tell your defensive backs in this scenario, it's 4th and half a yard, right? What are the odds they're actually going to run this? You need to commit to either the run or pass in this scenario. As soon as you see him work down, right, engage with him, make some contact, and kind of blow up the edge here, right? And Makari Page doesn't really do that, right? He's still working horizontal here, right? As soon as you see that from 86, blow him up. Get in his face to there, just absolutely demolish him, try to blow him back. And if you do that, if you engage there, right, you're less worried about the pass, because you're allowed to do that when you're close to the line of scrimmage. You're allowed to make that contact, but move forward, right? You still being in the end zone here, that's not going to make any difference. So even though he recognizes here, right, oh, this is a run and it's coming right at me there, he's not in the position, right? Where if he had worked upfield, made some contact, because 86 is working inside of him, right? He's not actually going for the block. But if he engages here and keeps that outside shoulder free, right, he recognizes this play closer to the 1.5 yard line, and he's able to react and possibly make contact. You know, if he's right here or so, he's able to possibly make contact earlier. So I think it's just a little bit too passive. and he's not able to make contact until at the goal line. That doesn't do you any good on that play. So a bit of a bummer. But after that long chunk play, it's hard to keep a team out of the end zone. Just couldn't make one more play there.
I'm glad you pointed that out with Morris, because initially when I watched it, I'm like, oh, how didn't he get there? And that's a great call. That's why I love doing these with you. And then, good point on Paige too. Like, what play are you going to make standing behind the goal line, man?
Right.
Like,
you got to know the down distance, right? You got to know the scenario, and you got to know what is the defense likely to do in this 4th and half a yard scenario, and play more aggressively than you would if this is on the 20-yard line, right? It all calls for a different sort of reaction. Got to keep that in mind. And I think that's where, I think he has a few years experience, but just getting more reps like that, you can kind of get into that mindset and have that in the back of your mind a little bit more. Okay. Here we got segment 10 here, 13 to 7, and a great run here from, Donovan Edwards here. Great block on the outside here. This is something that I expect to keep earlier from McCarthy, is in the heads a little bit there of Penn State here, because you have this sort of same reaction here, right? Instead of it being Bredesen and Schoonmaker, now you got Andrel Anthony and Bredesen, but the same sort of action, right? Where you are out of the pistol, but you got both of these guys coming around here, and you have this sort of fake give here. Now I'm not sure if this is 100% a read or not. I don't think it is, because before, when you had both these guys kind of looping around, right, and blocking to the next level, here you're actually blocking, right? You're actually picking this up. You're actually blocking this as well. So I'm not 100% sure if this is 100% a read or not. But look at the reaction.
I don't think it is. I think this is a previous JJ keep, and they go give on this one. Again, another cross tendency thing, because I think you're probably about to get into this, so I don't want to steal your thunder, but Penn State thinks they know what play is happening here.
100%. Yeah. And I think you're probably looking at number 2 here. Looking at him point, right? And you got this motion here. So this guy's going to start flying down. And just watch the linebackers. All the linebackers here, right? You have this same sort of scrape exchange here. So these two guys are out of the play. And then both of these guys are going to be tunneling up this A gap here. So I think it's a really bad misplay from this linebacker, especially if we move forward here. Both of those linebackers occupy the same gap. So I think that's a huge misstep, especially from number 0 here. He's supposed to have that backside A gap, I'm sure, based on the play of your defensive tackles. But give credit to Michigan here for, again, look at the hips of your offensive lineman here. Oluwatimi washing down here, and look at the hips here, right? Talk about a nice, easy lane here, good block here, and that's forming this bounce, right? Especially, again, what does the motion do from Andrel Anthony coming across here? Look at the momentum of your safeties, right? The momentum of everybody is headed that way. And that's also what that motion does to you, right? Because kind of what I was saying earlier, because the motion here, look at the eyes of number 2, right? You are giving him now the new role of this single high safety. This safety is expecting a new role shifting over here. By the time number 2, right? Number 2 is still kind of looking at this motion and expecting that. By the time he has to react, look at his momentum, right? Because of that motion, because of where he's shifting, this cutback lane has no reaction from that safety. Like he's gone, right? You bounce here, right? And your single high safety is not able to direct here and close this gap. He's miles away. So it's good blocks there. Loveland getting on the action. And then I love this block from Cornelius Johnson, right? He gets a little bit disengaged. Good job here to continue to work upfield. And then he gets a 2-for-1 there on number 2 and number 8. Good hesitation there from Donovan Edwards. Picks up a couple more yards. So, again, I think you're 100% right. This is just using those tendencies, right? They are scared as hell of J.J. McCarthy working to the outside here. This is definitely a called give here, and just have that split zone look, and now you're in business, right? Get those linebackers to overcommit, and you're working with a running back with a cutback lane who doesn't see any contact until 12 yards down the field. So it's easy. It's easy stuff.
No, it's exciting too. This is This is Michigan building. This is what they do every year. I think Harbaugh's got some NFL in him that he just won't shake, which is the, adding stuff every week, the layers or whatever. But a lot of the things we said, hey, in future games, they're going to set up for this. They're going to set up for this. And they did all day against Penn State. That's just awesome play, man.
100%. All right, here we go. 3rd and 2. And this is the doink pick 6 play. And this is the point when I was in the stadium where I was just looking at the scoreboard and just like, how is this happening? This is just gonna be one of those games, huh? Where Michigan's just dominating, right? I didn't cut a lot of negative plays for Michigan, right? The negative plays I'm showing are pretty much the only negative plays, and I'm, there's only really been one positive offensive play at this point for Penn State, 1 or 2, and this is just what happens, right? Football's a weird sport, so. Michigan just running kind of this motion, little waggle play, right? You get Blake Corum here in space. You have him, right? So I think it's still delivered on time, even with this little bit of a trip. You'd like to see Carson Barnhart do a little bit better on PJ Mustipher here, who's working upfield. So maybe that threw off JJ McCarthy a little bit there. But really, this is just, I think this is more just unfortunate, right? How many times do you see a ball that's batted down just fall aimlessly to the turf? And instead, this one bounces off of a helmet and into the arms of a guy who's already running towards the end zone, right? So, again, the odds of this happening pretty low. Give credit to that defender for getting in the path of that throw, right? I think the only argument here is maybe it's a little late. Maybe you want this ball delivered a little bit over the top here, right? But I mean, with this defender, you don't want to loft this up too much, right? Because if it's inaccurate, then you're looking at a different kind of pick 6. So sometimes you're just getting lucky in football, right? And I think this, give credit for 44 for getting in the path of that pass, but really this was there, right? Like the pass was there, and it just happened to be deflected, bounced off a helmet, and into the arms of the defender, right? So.
Yeah, JJ does better when his rhythm isn't thrown off, right? So that little trip just set everything in motion. Probably shouldn't have thrown it, but again, like you said, this play didn't bother me near as much as the one he just chucked up in the air when he was getting ready to get sacked. Oh, yeah. So
I didn't include that one.
Good.
Yeah, that
I never want to see it again.
I agree.
God, okay. the cut to Harbaugh's face was so good.
So here we are again, right? 13 plays, 84 yards, 1 first down, 14 points for Penn State, and you are tripling their yards effectively for Michigan, 14 times the number of first downs and 1 less point. So sometimes football doesn't make sense. And with all this analysis, all the good things I've said about Michigan thus far, it's all true, and you can still be losing the game, right? So we're back here, 4-minute drill for Michigan, 3rd and 6. Really fun little play here. This is called Bash QB GT counter. And that GT counter is your left guard and left tackle off of this fun. I mean, there's a lot happening on this play, right? You're sending your running back out here. You have this motion. I can't believe how perfectly this color just matches the M here. I didn't mean to do that. The running back here in motion, that's Donovan Edwards, right? So you have a lot of action here going in this direction. And you see the ends kind of reacting to both of that. This is just really good timing of J.J. McCarthy and just enough of a block on your pull here for Keegan. Keegan's going to just get enough of this right end to give some room to J.J. McCarthy. And let's actually switch, I think, of a better angle of this play. We'll switch to that where it's just enough on number 20 there to push him upfield just so J.J. McCarthy can get out there. And I think Michigan really likes this play because they really love the athleticism of their linemen, right? You're putting so many guys in space here, and you need to trust them in space. You got your tight end Schoonmaker here, releasing Barnhart to the second level. Oluwatimi is set up out here. You're leaving both of these ends open, right? You're expecting them to bite enough on this sort of action, and you get enough of a block here on your pull just to get him further upfield. And then you're in the clear, right? You got a little down block here and your lead block here from your left tackle in space to pick this up. So everything's there, right? Right here, boom, you got what you want if you're Michigan. I honestly have no idea where this linebacker was headed. Don't even really need too much of a block there from Barnhart. I think Ryan Hayes misidentifies this a little bit. This guy's already accounted for from Barnhart. Ryan Hayes definitely should have kept going upfield here, which is crazy because that's a safety, and usually you're blocked to the safety, not the safety is usually the one-on-one matchup that you like. So I think Hayes, you can understand him going out there, but I think you should continue to work upfield here against the safety. That safety does make the play, but really successful play for Michigan, right? And it's a fun little concept. And again, when you have a quarterback like McCarthy, he can make certain plays like this, and it just makes you that much more dynamic. So fun play. Don't remember seeing it before.
No, but he's committed to the run and then doesn't take the defender head on, finds a safe way to go down. So, yeah.
Yep, smart play. All right, 2 more plays here. 2nd and 10. Nice run here for Blake Corum. This I just want to show off because
how does he not go down?
How does he not go down, right? That's really, really wild that he's able to keep his feet here. So this is a nice little counter run action. Good down blocks on that right side, just forms a huge wall. And then a good couple blocks here. Roman Wilson could have done a little bit better, but let's look at the right side of the offensive line. Just a combo block right here, boom and boom. And then a single block here from Schoonmaker on that right side of the offensive line, really washing that down. Barnhart could be doing a little bit better job here, getting to the second level, right? He's setting this up well. He's identified 43, this backside backer. That's who he's going to block. He needs to get upfield a little bit more. So as soon as he comes off of that double block for Barnhart, right, he's working through to that second level. I think he kind of stalls here. I think he just needs to get a little bit more vertical. You can give up a little bit more ground this way, but then just turn your hips here. He gives a little bit of a lane for 43. 43 is eventually who makes that secondary hit that Blake Corum somehow stays on his feet after. But following the pulls here, so obviously you have Roman Wilson in motion. You have Keegan pulling as well. Keegan does a really great job on number 11. Roman Wilson could have done a little bit better job on your defensive back, but great job from Keegan. Again, that Keegan's block is exactly what I'm describing on what I want to see from Barnhart here. Keegan doesn't even really block him. He just kind of cuts him off, right? You don't need to put on a thunderous block here, but look at the hips right here of Keegan versus the position of Barnhart, right? Keegan worked upfield. He continued to work vertical and then turn and just cut him off. You don't need to necessarily pound a guy or really blow him out and keep your hips pointed north and south. If you can work around and get those hips where the running back is going to go, right? You're working smarter, not harder. So a little bit of a missed block there from Roman Wilson. It's a tough job. I think for Roman Wilson, he does enough to keep Blake Corum going, but could have done a little bit better. And then, it's just Blake Corum being crazy and somehow landing on one foot after this hit deflects the helmet of that defensive back with his butt, lands on one foot here. And this is a linebacker making this hit, somehow keeps his balance here. And, show me how many running backs can stay on their feet and continue to run after that. And there's probably one name, and it's Blake Corum. That's probably the only guy who can do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's crazy. All right, last play here. We got 3rd and 2 late in the half. And this is just zone blocking up front. Penn State shows 9 at the line of scrimmage. It's boom or bust, right? If you get your head across on these blocks, you're going to score. And Schoonmaker not able to get his head across there, right? It comes down to, can everyone do their job and wash down? There's probably going to be a crease, right? This is just about finding a crease. And Schoonmaker doesn't find his crease enough against number 44, who shoots through this gap, right? So because of that, 44 is able to get into the backfield, and that's exactly where Corum is accepting the ball, right? So he has to make a decision either to cut right or left. He doesn't really have good options here. He probably should have cut to the right here, and he maybe would have been able to find something. But you also have this Nittany line bearing down here. So this is just not able to make that block if you're Schoonmaker, and the guy does enough of a play to bring this down. So just get your hat across, right? You look at everybody else on the offensive line; they're working to get their hat across the guy in front of them, and not enough of a. I think it's not a good initial step out of Schoonmaker. Again, this is more about working at the hip of your offensive lineman next to you than anything else. Just work across here, and trust that your running back will be able to bounce and find a gap. If you let this guy through, there's no gap to find, and you're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, Corum can be a superhero sometimes, but not every time, right?
Yeah. All right, and that's it. Michigan's going to get a field goal there to go up 16-14 at half, and a bit of a cliffhanger, I know, but I promise the second half is also pretty fun. So we'll be getting to that next time on cut-ups, but take us away, Trevor.
Yeah, like you said, Toski, I mean, it's a lot more fun when Michigan's playing really, really well, right? So score aside, I thought that was a really good half for them. We saw a lot of, like you said, man, the broken tendencies and the misdirections and just the Michigan offense finding an identity. So awesome job as always. We ran a little late this time. Hope that's okay. Probably my fault. Talked a little bit more in this one. Sorry. This section made me excited. So obviously, like you said, we'll have the second half soon. Make sure we'll post that on Twitter. Following our @MichiganRivals account will let you know when that's going. Then, of course, like I said, make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel. Get notifications every time we go live on any of our countless podcasts and video series we have at this point. So otherwise, Toski, good job as always, man. Looking forward to the next one. Anything you want to add about the first half and what you went through here?
No, man, football's weird. Michigan looked really good. I was still really confident even at halftime. You look at the scoreboard at 16-14, you're like, man, this feels like a blowout. Should be a blowout. Yeah. It isn't. And can Michigan put it together in the second half? They did. So we'll get to that tomorrow, hopefully, and get through those that second half, which is a little bit more fun. And football is weird, but you go long enough and you stay on your path and execute, and good things will happen. And that's what we saw. So appreciate everyone for coming by. And I think we had over 100 views. So really, really fun. Nice. And yeah, come join us tomorrow. And like Trevor said, lots of great content every single day on Maize Blue Review. So really fun stuff.
All right. Thanks again, as always, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Take care.